Welcome to this explainer, where we are going to completely reframe how you think about your skin. You know, we often think of our skin simply as just that surface we wash or cover up with clothes. But today, we're going to explore its absolutely vital role as the ultimate shield for the human body. By looking at it in the larger context of our entire network of organ systems, you're going to see exactly why this incredible dynamic outer layer is literally essential for our survival.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with Part 1, the human body's systemic masterpiece. Then, Part 2, we'll officially meet the integumentary system. Part 3 dives into the anatomy of the ultimate shield, followed by Part 4, the physiology of the skin. And we'll wrap it all up with Part 5, protecting the internal ecosystem.
All right, let's get right into Section 1, the human body's systemic masterpiece. Because to truly understand our skin, we really need to first establish the overarching rules of how the body operates as a single, unified entity. Now, we generally know that anatomy refers to the physical structure of things, and physiology is how those parts actually operate. But the absolute golden rule of our biological blueprint is that structure dictates function. What does that mean? It means the specific physical form of an organ, like the skin, directly limits and enables what it can actually do. You literally cannot separate the two. So think about this for a second. The outside world is constantly throwing fluctuating temperatures and microscopic threats our way, right? So how does the body actually maintain its internal balance in such a chaotic environment? Well, it all comes down to a concept called homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically a steady state of internal balance that your body constantly works to maintain. For example, your body fiercely defends an internal temperature of roughly 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. If it spikes to, say, 102.5 because of an external source, well, that's a disruption of homeostasis, and your body immediately scrambles to fix it. And to maintain that vital homeostasis, the human body uses 11 highly coordinated organ systems. Every single one of these systems, from the cardiovascular system pumping your blood to the nervous system sending rapid-fire electrical signals, works together in this massive functional network. No system operates in isolation. They all rely completely on one another just to keep you alive and functioning.
Which brings us to Section 2, meet the integumentary system. With that big picture systemic context in place, let's narrow our focus to one very specific system on that list, the one that literally acts as the physical boundary for all the others.
Sure, the heart and the brain usually get all the glory in popular culture, but the integumentary system is totally the unsung hero that makes their survival possible in the first place. It acts as the primary boundary between the chaotic external environment and the highly regulated internal systems of the body. Without this boundary, homeostasis would be entirely impossible.
Moving on to Section 3, anatomy of the ultimate shield. Let's look at the actual structure, the anatomy of the system from two very different scales to see exactly how it's built.
When we observe the visible boundary of our body, gross anatomy shows us the macroscopic parts we're all familiar with: skin, hair, and nails. But if we zoom way into the microscopic anatomy, studying the cells and tissues, we see that the skin is actually a highly complex cutaneous membrane. It's constructed of a stratified squamous epithelial membrane resting directly on top of a supportive layer of connective tissue. It's an incredible piece of biological architecture. And breaking down the exact components shows us that this system is far more than just a simple wrapper. The skin itself is that complex cutaneous membrane we just mentioned. But you also have hair, which, structurally speaking, are keratinized structural filaments. You've got nails, serving as hard protective coverings over your delicate digits. And crucially, you have exocrine glands, specifically your sweat and sebaceous glands, embedded right within the tissue itself. Every single one of these components has a highly specialized structure.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit in Section 4, physiology of the skin. Having mapped out the structural anatomy, we can now look at the physiology. Remember our golden rule: structure dictates function. So how does this complex shield actively function?
There's a brilliant way to describe how this cutaneous membrane's vital physiological role actually operates. The quote here points out that the apical surface, which is just a fancy way of saying the very top layer exposed to the outside world, is covered with dead keratinized cells. This isn't just a static wall, it's a highly active barrier. It actively prevents desiccation, meaning it literally locks our internal moisture in so we don't dry up. And at the exact same time, it blocks dangerous microscopic pathogens from ever getting inside.
These functions basically build into three distinct physiological steps that are constantly working to keep us safe and aware of our surroundings. First, as we just discussed, it acts as a tough protective barrier against external threats.
Second, it actively regulates your internal body temperature. Think back to that concept of homeostasis and those exocrine sweat glands releasing heat. And third, it serves as a massive sensory interface. It houses your sensory receptors for touch, pain, and pressure. It's essentially the physical hardware feeding real-time environmental data directly to your nervous system. Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 5, Protecting the Internal Ecosystem. For our final section, let's zoom back out to look at the larger context of the human body, specifically seeing how the skin interacts with our deepest internal spaces. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this outer layer is the fortified wall protecting our internal body cavities. You see, our body organizes its vital organs into safe, fluid-filled spaces called the dorsal and ventral cavities. The dorsal cavity safely houses the brain and spinal cord, while the massive ventral cavity holds your heart, lungs, and digestive organs. These internal organs are incredibly delicate. They need room to expand, contract, and pulse without any friction. The integumentary system ensures these fragile cavities remain completely sealed off from the harsh outside world.
And honestly, we can truly appreciate this when we compare it to our other major defense network, the lymphatic and immune system. Now, your immune system is amazing. It uses white blood cells and lymph nodes in a complex internal battle against disease, but your lymphatic system is strictly an internal defense network. It filters out the pathogens that somehow manage to breach the perimeter. The integumentary system is that perimeter. It is the ultimate border control, preventing the vast majority of threats from ever forcing your immune system to fight a battle in the first place.
Which brings us to the very end of our explainer. I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Without our external shield, how would the rest of our 10 delicate internal organ systems even survive the harsh outside world? Well, the short answer is they wouldn't. Your skin is a brilliant, highly specialized organ system working tirelessly every second of the day to maintain the homeostasis that keeps you alive. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible systemic masterpiece. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.